Before we dive into today's story, if this is your first time watching one of our videos, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us and helps us bring you even more powerful stories. Stick with us till the very end. And if this story moves you, share your thoughts in the comments and send it to a friend who needs to hear it. Now, let's begin. The microphone screamed through the conference room like a wounded animal, making everyone flinch. Over 300 employees turned toward the stage where Adrian Cole stood in his dark navy blazer, his smirk sharp under the white lights. Beside him, the company logo of Helix Systems glowed across a wall of monitors. Maya Trent knew what was coming before he even spoke. 22 years in corporate rooms had taught her how to recognize an execution when she saw one. "Maya Trent," Adrian said, his voice booming through the speakers, heavy with satisfaction. "Your services are no longer required at Helix Systems." The words dropped like a gunshot. Gasps rippled across the auditorium. Maya rose slowly, her heels clicking against the polished floor. She kept her back straight, her expression calm, the same composure that had carried her through 2 decades of late nights and office wars. Adrian watched her like a cat watching its prey. The son of company founder Victor Cole, Adrian had inherited power he'd never earned. His fingers drummed against the podium as if the rhythm alone could remind everyone who owned the room. "Effective immediately," he added, drawing out every syllable like expensive wine. The silence thickened around them, broken only by the faint hum of servers and the weight of 300 stairs. As Maya walked toward the glass doors, her reflection multiplied across every polished surface. The Helix logo shimmered above her head, mocking her with every step. 22 years. That was how long she'd given this place. Her youth, her health, her heart. She had built the framework that powered every system Helix used. But Adrian didn't care about the foundation. He cared about his view from the corner office. "Guess it's true," someone whispered from the audience. The witch of Helix finally burned. Maya didn't flinch. She'd been called worse. As the murmurs spread, she caught a glimpse of Adrian leaning toward the microphone again, voice oily with arrogance. "Ladies and gentlemen, let's remain professional. We'll have the transition handled by morning." She paused at the exit, turning just slightly. "Careful, Adrian," she said evenly, her tone quiet but clear enough to cut through the air. "Some systems don't take kindly to arrogance." He laughed, thinking it was an empty threat. She smiled faintly, the kind that didn't reach her eyes, then pushed open the glass door and stepped into the hallway, the sound of her heels echoing like punctuation marks to her departure. As she walked away, memories surged like echoes from another life. The marble walls and digital screens faded in her mind, replaced by the smell of solder and old coffee. She remembered when Helix had been nothing more than a dream. 30 engineers working in a converted warehouse with second-hand desks and buzzing fluorescent lights. She could still see Jonas, her first partner in code, asleep on the floor between shifts, and hear the rattling fan that kept their overheating servers alive through the night. "You're obsessed, Maya," Jonas used to joke. "You treat code like poetry." "Because it is," she'd always replied. She remembered those endless nights, writing line after line until her fingers cramped, debugging authentication errors while cheap takeout boxes piled beside her keyboard. Every keystroke back then had been hope, a belief that if she built something strong enough, stable enough, it would last longer than the people who betrayed it. Those were the years she'd given everything, her weekends, her sanity, even the small joys of her youth. She smiled faintly at the memory, a bittersweet ache rising in her chest. "I built you to last," she whispered to herself, meaning both the system and the person she'd become. Her thoughts drifted to her father, Leon Trent, the man who'd taught her that precision mattered more than praise. He'd been a mechanic, not a tech genius, but he'd built engines the way she built systems, with patience, detail, and quiet pride. Then came the stroke, sudden and cruel. Maya had coded from his hospital room, Laptop balanced on her knees while machines beeped in rhythm to his fragile heartbeat. Bills had arrived faster than hope, each envelope heavier than the last. She'd spread them across the kitchen table, like tarot cards predicting financial ruin. Still, she'd kept coding, chasing stability she could never quite reach. "You're burning out," the doctors had warned. But what choice did she have? Helix needed her, and she needed Helix. "We're in this together, Dad," she'd whispered beside his hospital bed, pressing his frail hand. He couldn't reply, but his eyes had flickered just once, as if to tell her to keep going. She had until today, until Adrian Cole decided that the empire she'd built was his inheritance to dismantle. 6 months ago, Adrian had appeared in her office, all charm and designer cologne. He leaned against her doorway with the lazy confidence of someone who'd never known failure. "Maya, we need to talk," he'd said, flashing his practice smile. "I want access to the core system. If I'm going to run this company, I need to understand how it all works." Maya didn't look up from her screen. "The system has layers of security for a reason," she said. "Some doors stay locked." He chuckled, mistaking her warning for modesty. "Come on, Maya. Don't make this difficult. We're on the same team." She finally met his gaze. "Teams require trust, Adrian, and you haven't earned mine." His smile faltered, revealing something darker underneath. "We'll see about that," he said quietly before walking away. That conversation had haunted her since. The way he'd said it, the weight behind his tone, it wasn't curiosity. It was conquest. Now, standing outside the conference hall, she realized he'd finally gotten what he wanted, the keys to the kingdom. But Adrian had no idea what kingdom he'd just inherited, nor how it was built, or who it truly belonged to. By the time Maya reached the elevator, she heard the first alarm chime, a faint beep from somewhere deep in the building. Nothing most people would notice, but to her it was as distinct as a whisper. On the wall of monitors back in the conference room, a single red square had appeared among a sea of green status lights. The junior technician in charge of the contract servers noticed it too. "Ah, sir," he said uncertainly to Adrian, who was still on stage, basking in his victory. "We've got a flag in the payment gateway." Adrian didn't even look up. "Restart it," he ordered. "It's fine." But the boy's voice trembled. "It's not just that one, sir. They're multiplying." Within seconds, the monitors began flashing like a storm. System errors, data access, transaction failures. Everything's looping. Another engineer called out. Adrian waved a hand. "Minor glitch. Reboot the main server." Maya, halfway to the lobby, could hear the murmurs rising behind her like a tide. She paused, her reflection glimmering in the glass as she whispered to herself. "And so it begins." The lead engineer, a woman named Kara, stood frozen before the monitors. "Sir," she said slowly, "we should isolate the source first. If this cascades through the network, I said restart it." Adrian barked, his patience evaporating. Kara looked around helplessly before following orders. She entered the command sequence. The entire room fell silent as the screens went dark. For a moment, it was as if Helix Systems itself was holding its breath. Then, one by one, the displays flickered back to life. Across every monitor, in blood-red text, appeared 3 words. Primary key missing. A chill rippled through the crowd. No one moved. "What does that even mean?" Adrian demanded, his voice cracking. Kara's lips parted, her voice small. "It means the system doesn't recognize any administrator anymore. It's locked us out." Phones started buzzing. Executives grabbed their devices, faces draining of color as client calls poured in. "Our payment services are frozen. Everything's down," someone shouted. Adrian's smirk vanished. "That's impossible," he whispered, his eyes darting around as the empire his arrogance had touched began to crumble in real time. Then came the sound, footsteps, deliberate and heavy, echoing down the hall toward the conference doors. The room parted like the Red Sea as Victor Cole, founder of Helix Systems, strode in. His silver hair was combed back with military precision, his tailored suit immaculate despite the chaos unfolding around him. "What have you done?" His voice, calm but cold, sliced through the panic. Adrian straightened, trying to muster confidence. "Just a technical issue, Dad. We're handling it. Handling it." Victor's eyes swept the room. "Our stock is plummeting. Our servers are offline, and half the Eastern network is frozen. That's not handling, it's hemorrhaging." Adrian's face flushed red. "It's her fault," he said suddenly, pointing toward the glass doors where Maya's silhouette had just disappeared. "She built this thing like a fortress. I told her we needed open access." Victor turned sharply. "The system worked perfectly for 22 years, he thundered, "until you touched it." For the first time in his life, Adrian had no retort. The weight of failure pressed down, and in the reflection of the monitors he saw it, his downfall written in code. Victor turned to Kara, his voice quieter but urgent. "Can you fix it?" Kara shook her head, tears of stress gathering in her eyes. "Sir, without the original administrator credentials, the system's locked in self-protection mode. It's designed that way." Victor's gaze darkened. "Then get me Maya Trent." "She's gone," someone said. "Fired her," another muttered. For a long moment, Victor stood there, jaw clenched, the truth sinking in. Then he whispered, almost to himself, "Then God help us." Adrian pushed past Kara, panic taking over. "I still have biometric clearance," he said, pressing his thumb against the scanner. The system accepted his print, then froze again. The monitors flickered once more, words flashing like a cruel verdict. Authorization rejected. Primary key missing. Lockdown enhanced. The silence that followed was suffocating. "You made it worse," Kara breathed. Her voice rose. "You made it worse." And from the back of the room, someone repeated softly, "The backup is nothing without the original." That phrase spread like fire through the crowd, an understanding too late to change anything. The call came through Victor's phone seconds later. He answered with shaking hands, each word from the other end drained the color from his face. When he hung up, his voice was hollow. "We're losing $600,000 per minute." A collective gasp rippled through the room. Adrian sank into a chair, his blazer wrinkled, his arrogance gone. For the first time he looked small. Kara turned toward Victor. "Sir, only she can unlock it. The code's loyalty chain is linked to her digital signature." "Find her," Victor ordered. "Now." Meanwhile, Maya stood outside on the plaza, watching the reflection of the tower shimmer against the evening sky. Her phone buzzed repeatedly, calls from unknown numbers, urgent texts from coworkers. She ignored them all. "It's already done," she murmured. Somewhere above, alarms continued to flash. Inside, the heart of Helix Systems had chosen silence. The creation had turned against its careless masters. For once, she didn't feel anger, only a quiet, almost tender satisfaction. The system wasn't rebelling, it was protecting itself, the way she designed it to. The elevator doors slid open again. Victor stepped out, scanning the lobby like a man chasing ghosts. "Maya." His voice, for once, carried something foreign, humility. He spotted her near the exit, phone in hand. "Please," he said, his voice cracking under the weight of 22 years of pride. "You have to fix this. Whatever my son did, I'll make it right. Just save the company." Maya turned slowly. The last time she'd seen him, he hadn't even remembered her name during a board meeting. Now he looked older, smaller. "The system doesn't respond to titles," she said softly. "It responds to integrity." "Then take any position you want, any salary," he pleaded. "Just unlock it." Adrian came running, panic in his eyes. "Don't listen to him," he snapped. "She's doing this out of revenge." Maya stared at him for a long moment. "Revenge," she repeated quietly. "No, Adrian. This is consequence." Her calmness scared him more than anger ever could. For a moment, silence hung between the three of them. The woman who had built the empire, the man who had founded it, and the boy who had nearly destroyed it. Then Maya spoke, her tone even. When I wrote the framework for Helix, I registered the intellectual property under my own name. Back then, there were no lawyers, no paperwork from your father's investors. Just signatures on a napkin and faith in each other. Victor's eyes widened. You're saying I own the architecture, she finished. Every function, every thread, every byte that holds this company together. You may own the buildings, the staff, the brand, but not the heart. Adrian's mouth fell open. You're bluffing. Maya smiled faintly. Check the founding contracts if the system ever lets you back in. She turned to Victor, her voice soft but final. You didn't lose the company today because I left. You lost it because you forgot who built it. With that, she turned toward the glass doors and walked into the evening light. The night air greeted her like freedom itself, cool, clean, and alive. The streets shimmered with reflections of city lights, each one a reminder that the world outside Helix still moved, still breathed. Her phone buzzed again, this time with messages from investors, journalists, and tech startups already offering partnerships. But she ignored them. Instead, she opened her contacts and tapped one name, her father's. Hey, Dad, she said when the nurse answered. Tell him I'll be there soon. She smiled faintly. The bills won't be a problem anymore. Behind her, the tower that once ruled her life stood dark and silent, its monitors still flashing a single phrase. Primary key missing. Maya walked away, her heels striking the pavement in a steady rhythm. She wasn't thinking about revenge or even victory. She was thinking about creation, about starting again, but this time on her own terms. The city stretched out before her like an unwritten line of code waiting to be built. She lifted her head, breathed in the night, and smiled. Let's see what I can make next. Maya walked down the steps of the Helix Tower, the glow from its glass facade fading behind her like the final ember of a fire she had tended too long. The city stretched wide and golden under the streetlights, the hum of traffic mingling with her own steady heartbeat. For the first time in years, there was no deadline, no late-night code, no expectation to fix what others broke. Just silence and possibility. Her phone buzzed again, but this time she answered. Maya Trent, a crisp voice asked. This is Evelyn Shore, CFO at Novalink Technologies. We saw the Helix collapse. Are you available for a consultation? Maya smiled faintly. Tonight, I'm not available, she said, her tone gentle but firm. Call me tomorrow. She hung up, feeling the quiet satisfaction of someone finally choosing herself. The sound of her heels echoed down the wet pavement as she passed a bus stop where two interns from Helix were sitting, staring at their phones. They looked up, startled. Ms. Trent, one whispered. Was it true? Did you really? She smiled at them kindly. Take this advice, she said. Never build something for people who can't respect what keeps it alive. Then she walked on, her reflection rippling across puddles, free from the glass walls that had once defined her. By the time Maya reached the hospital, the city was settling into its midnight hush. The fluorescent lights in the hallway flickered softly as she stepped into her father's room. Leon lay there, thinner now but peaceful, his breathing steady. She sat beside him and took his hand. Hey, Dad, she whispered. Remember how you used to say the world only respects what it fears losing? She smiled faintly. Turns out you were right. His eyelids fluttered, and though he couldn't speak, his fingers squeezed hers faintly, the smallest gesture carrying all the love she'd ever needed. She leaned closer. We're free now. No more debts, no more sleepless nights. She looked toward the window, where the lights of the city's skyline shimmered against the glass. They'll write articles about Helix tomorrow. They'll call it a crash, a system failure. But really it was just a test. The machine remembered who built it. The system didn't fail. It refused to serve the wrong hands. Her father's pulse monitor beeped steadily, calm and certain. She brushed his forehead gently and whispered, "You can rest now. I finally did what you taught me. Walk away when they forget your worth." Outside the hospital, dawn was already breaking. The first pale light stretched across the horizon, washing the city in soft gold. Maya stood by the entrance, holding a cup of coffee she didn't need, watching the world come alive again. Her phone buzzed once more, another unknown number. She let it ring, smiling quietly. Somewhere behind her, the Helix building still stood, dark and broken, its monitors looping the same message. Primary key missing. The Empire had lost its heartbeat, but she hadn't. As the wind stirred her hair, she whispered, "I gave them life once. Now I'll build something better." She took a deep breath and started walking. Not away this time, but forward, into a city that finally seemed hers. Every footstep felt lighter, her shoulders unburdened. "Maya Trent," she murmured under her breath, "the woman who built an empire from nothing, and this time won't give it away." Her phone buzzed again, but she ignored it, listening instead to the hum of morning traffic and the whisper of her own freedom. She smiled. The backup had failed without the original, but the original was alive, unstoppable, and finally at peace. The world would hear from her again, not as the woman Helix fired, but as the architect who taught them the cost of forgetting their creator. Like and subscribe to my channel for more contents like this, and let us know where you are watching from under the comment section.